This is RevTech Podcast, where we discuss everything from business processes to measurement and technical alignment. The RevTech mission focuses on effectively managing and optimizing the go-to-market strategy through methodologies, tools, and best practices. We discuss the success criteria and technical fit guides for decision-making and ensure solutions align with the business goals. Our today's guest is Greg Portnoy, the founder of Euler. And we're happy to have you. How you doing?
Happy to be here. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, so let's dive right in. Give us the high-level overview of what Euler does.
Yeah, so Euler is a new partnerships operating system that takes the best pieces of PRMs and portals and infuses that into my decade of experience building multiple partner programs to really create, what we're affectionately calling kind of a partnerships operating system, the first real tool for partnerships that actually helps partner teams be more successful with less effort. Every other team within a business, sales, marketing, finance, whoever, they have tools that give them leverage and help them drive the outcomes that they're responsible for with less headcount, less resources, less effort. Partnerships doesn't have that. For the longest time, partnerships has had tools that just move workflow from one place to another that ended up creating friction points with their partners. We decided to take the other approach and say, how do we take work off of the partnerships team's plate and how do we remove friction from the partner, all with the goal of having partner teams drive more revenue with less effort.
Yeah. Or you have a bunch of very point solutions that fix one of your problems, but not many of your problems. So you mentioned you have years of partnerships experience that I'm well aware of. I'm assuming that's where you got the idea for Euler and kind of how it started. But can you give us the background and the founder story of what made you want to create Euler?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've built 4 partner programs personally, 3 of them from the ground up, all very successful, driving between 25 to 65% of new business from partnerships. And that consists of hundreds of partnerships, driving thousands of referrals and over $30 million in ARR. And obviously that's a very solid sample size of data for what works and what doesn't work in terms of partner operations and in terms of scalability and lack thereof. And I was doing some consulting in 2022 on partnerships, and I really saw that partner tech specifically really hadn't evolved in a very long time. It basically fell into one of 2 camps. Either was a traditional legacy platform built for the traditional way of doing channel, which didn't really apply to most technology companies and businesses today, or it was a newer platform, typically coming in from a different area like affiliate marketing or something like that, basically calling itself a partnerships platform, but not really understanding the nuances and leverage points or lack thereof that partnerships teams have, both internally and with their partners. And so I just had a light bulb moment, and I wanted to start my own business for a very long time. Well, technically, I started a vodka company when I was younger, but that's a separate conversation over maybe some drinks.
Over some vodka?
Yeah, that's going to be another episode.
Well, ironically, even though I am Russian, I don't like vodka, or I don't prefer vodka. I prefer tequila. But anyway, if I was going to do it again, maybe it'd be a tequila company. But yeah, I wanted to start something for a long time. I saw a huge gap in partnerships. It's a space I know very well and am very passionate about. And so I had this idea and I started socializing it a little over a year ago with, lots of partnership leaders in my network, and got significant confirmation that there really was a huge gap, that there really was nothing good out there in terms of technology to support partnerships teams. So we started building product a little over a year ago at the beginning of March of last year, actually. So I guess 13 months now. And it started to go really well very quickly. You guys were one of our early customers, Lizzie, over at Rollworks. And we basically started bringing on customers after 4 months, and we started building product around those customers' use cases. Even though, again, I've done partnerships for a very long time, I tried to take a very beginner's mindset to the whole thing and kind of start back at first principles, knowing that, let's call it PRM, for example, as a category, has been around for over 3 decades. And yet it has less than a 25% market penetration, which I think we would all agree is pretty bad for 30 years in the market. And so I decided to be really thoughtful and methodical about how we build, to figure out why is that? Why has no one succeeded in this space? Why is this not a common thing? And we've done it around our specific customer use cases and always challenged ourselves to add depth of functionality while keeping the user experience really, really simple. to the point that like Jay McBain, the first time he saw our product, called it like the Apple of partner tech because it's so simple and streamlined looking on the front end, but so powerful on the back end. And that's what we've done. We've just been building product. Q4 was our beta period. We brought on more customers. We soft launched at the beginning of the year and have continued to bring on customers. And we're publicly launching soon. And it's been going really well. We have dozens of customers at this point, you know, across industries, across sectors, across company sizes, everything from, you know, single person partnerships teams at 30-person companies doing $10 million in revenue, all the way up to big partnerships teams at 800-person companies doing $200 million in revenue, and kind of everything in between. And when people see the product, they just get genuinely really excited because there's this funny thing where there's almost this like Stockholm syndrome that partnerships people have with partner tech, where they're just like accepting that it's just going to suck. And when they see our product more and more often as time goes on, as we add more to the product, they're like, oh my God, I didn't even know this was an option. So it's really fun. It's super exciting.
Yeah. And one of the things I think you guys did that was really smart, and with us at Rollworks, was you had design partners. So you didn't give a free trial. You said, help us build this product, which had us really bought it. I'm sure some of your other design partners really bought in. And then you, as we asked for things, you went and built it. And I think some of that was probably due to how you financed the startup. And so I'd love to hear what that journey has been and where you're at now on the financing side.
Yeah. So we are bootstrapped for all intents and purposes. We raised a small friends and family round, like an angel round around the beginning, just to give us a little bit of runway. But we are very revenue positive at this point, and to the point that we expect to be actually profitable by the end of Q2, which is super exciting. As a new founder and as someone that has spent the last decade of their career in tech, you know, I grew up around VC. Like I've worked at multiple venture-backed companies, and I very much considered that path. And I actually did transparently go out and talk to a few VCs at the beginning of this venture, and, you know, started to kind of like learn what was involved in that and the pros and the cons. And I used to say that I wish I had started the company a year earlier because it would have been easier to raise money. But then after 6 months of working in the business, and after talking tons of venture-backed founders that had bootstrapped, friends that are in VCs that I was trying to pitch, VCs that were trying to pitch me, I got this like critical mass of data that made it very clear that like the VC path is a totally different path. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but if you go down that path, you're building a very different sort of company with a very different sort of trajectory, and the goals you have to hit, the numbers you have to hit to have the same type of outcome that you would have to have at a much smaller size if you owned the vast majority, if not all of your company, is just very different.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate that previous to Euler, I did a private equity backed turnaround for another small SaaS company where I was acting as the CEO and founder, but I owned a very small portion of the company. So I reported directly to these investors, and I learned what it's like to have investors, not operators, telling you how to operate. And personally, for me, not my thing. So I'm really glad that we didn't raise venture capital, because that's not the path we want to go down. That being said, if things continue on the trajectory that they've been going, and at some point we say, hey, we want to go raise some growth equity, that's a different conversation, and we're very open to that. But right now we have money in the bank, we have lots of runway, revenue's growing very quickly. So fortunately, we don't have to think about nor spend time on financing anytime soon.
Yeah, and it becomes different conversation when you have a product that's shown value and has growth opportunity to have people come in and invest in it, versus when you're trying to get something off the ground. And I think you're right, the VC route is a good route for many people. I think the route you went let you be really thoughtful and build like what the market was really telling you to build at the pace that you could with the people you had. So it's been a fun journey to be a part of because of that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that, you know, somebody said something, a statement once that really resonated with me, which is that like money and capital can cover up any type of mistake or all ills, essentially. So like if you have venture capital, you can make decisions without wondering like, what are the unit economics behind this? Do our customers really want this? Like, it basically kicks the can down the road of having to validate whether this is actually something that people want and need. And so like the benefit of bootstrapping it, yeah, it's a lot harder, of course, and it's a lot more stressful at times. And look, we're very lucky that I really understand partnerships, that we had good design partners like you, that my co-founder Dave is a product wizard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like a lot of things came together, to make this very successful very quickly. But if it hadn't been, like, I might have a very different perspective on this whole situation. But the good thing is that now, like, we know that we're building something the market wants because there's a ton of demand and people are really excited about the product and they're using it. And so if you have the stomach for a more kind of like measured approach like that, that personally, I think it's better because, again, I know that we've built something that people want. And
I think the time that you took to rethink and think about this properly gave you that comfort that you don't have to go to VC that normally provides that comfort of offering more money. And that's now you still have that option in your pocket if you need to, while you executing what you planned before, right? And that's the knowledge you bring in from your prior experiences, the jobs that you had, and the connections with these VCs. So that gave you a pretty good overview, right? Sometimes starting a little bit slower helps you to accelerate later. And I feel like that's your case. That's awesome.
Yeah, it took me a sec. I'm not naturally a very patient person. So it took me a sec to kind of like accept it. But, in hindsight now, I agree. I'm very glad that we did this the way that we've done
smart. It. So I can't wait to see the demo. How about we're going to jump right away into that and you're going to share with us your product.
Let's do it. All right. Welcome to Euler. So what you've got here is the deals dashboard. This is everything revenue focused. So we've built our product with a very huge focus on data sync with the CRM. So far, we seem to have some of the best, if not the best, CRM integrations of any other piece of partner tech that we've encountered, at least in the PRM and portal space. And we did that. We built all of our integrations natively, Salesforce, HubSpot, Pipedrive. And we did that, even though it's a ton of work to build and maintain, we did that because I'm of the opinion that this idea that partnerships would have its own source of truth and sales would have its own source of truth over here is ridiculous. Partnerships doesn't have the leverage nor the need to have its own source of truth. They should have a tool that provides a window into and moves data back and forth between the CRM, which is the whole business source of truth. So because of that, we built really powerful native CRM integrations, no Zapier, no iPass, nothing like that. We own them. And we did that so that you can constantly have really, really good data portability between the two systems. So you see revenue here, partners, deals, pipeline. You see pipeline over time here. So for some trend analysis, top partners, you get full deal data down here coming from the CRM. You can sort it. You can filter it here by partner, by dates, by deal stages, and really drill down into any of this information very, very easily. You can then drill down into any partner relationship and see everything associated with that partner, deals, referrals, tracking links. We have an affiliate link capability so you can create them and then have automatic attribution to the CRM through anyone that comes to that affiliate link. We built an e-sign capability. So now you can create, send, sign, and store any kind of a legal agreement directly within Euler. We have a payments capability. So you can calculate, if we plug into your billing system, you can actually calculate and execute partner payments through our system and see what the reward structure was on those payments. We also have the ability for you to automatically create invoices for those payments. So your finance team never has to send an email to a partner ever again saying, invoice us. It's all done within Euler. We have contact management. So you can email partners from the system. You can even spiff partners directly from the system and send one-off financial incentives to, let's call it, account-facing teams at the partner really, really easily. And then you can create a portal for your partners with all this information or some of this information, toggle it on and off. And you can see what the partner's view looks like. It's much more streamlined. They get status of referrals. They get the status of deals. This is all coming from your system. Payments history with you, invoice history for those payments. They can find their tracking or affiliate links, You can share content with them. They can find their agreements, add users, and even see what the commercial terms of your partner program are directly within this portal very, very easily. They can obviously submit referrals and register deals within the portal if they're in here. But as we know, most partners won't log in to these platforms. That's one of the biggest issues with them. So this form can be embedded externally on a landing page or a website. And then all of the information in here can be automatically pushed out to your partners as well, directly to their inbox. So you're no longer only addressing the 10 or 15% of your partners that will log into a portal. From there, when someone submits a referral, it goes into your referrals dashboard. And from here, you can accept them. And when you accept it, our system automatically writes to the CRM, creating all of the objects, accounts, contacts, deals, and automatically attributes everything as well. So no more worrying about salespeople tagging things correctly. Obviously, you can reject them and tell them why you rejected it. Both of these paths send a note to the partner, closing the loop. So it just creates a cohesive partner experience. You can then obviously submit the referral on behalf of the partner as well, if you would like to. But we have additional little things like a Google Chrome extension, which we just launched. So if your partner is texting you, Slacking you, emailing you, and you don't want to log into Euler to log it, you can actually log a referral directly from a Google Chrome extension. So your team, you can't see it on the screen share. Sorry, guys. There's a Google Chrome extension popping up with a referral form. Just visualize it in your minds. All done to constantly give both the partner and the partnerships team less friction in kind of getting the job done. We have the ability to create a partner application for you. And in doing so, when you accept partners, you can streamline your entire partner onboarding process, where through this simple flow, you can accept a partner, you can give them access to Euler, you can send them a partner agreement from one of the templates you've created, you can associate a reward model with them, you can send them a welcome message, and you can accept them and automatically create a partner account in your CRM. So now your entire partner onboarding flow just took you 10 seconds.
This is great. I think the fact that you streamline all of these processes and they can be managed on the both sides, that is giving a lot of advantage, right? Usually a hard thing is just to ensure that people engaging with the application, but you solve that because there's obviously the interest on the both sides, right? Hey, we have a referral here, so let me submit for you. And then on the other hand, of course, you need to go and accept in order to, trigger all these workflows that automate that, right? So I love that part.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I don't think you're ever going to change human nature. It's the hardest thing in the world to change. So why beat your head against the wall? Why prescribe to this old ideology of like, if you build it, they will come? I think the jury is in on this one, and no one's coming.
They don't come. They don't come.
They don't come. So instead of trying to change human nature, we decided to build everything from the idea of like, what's the least amount of effort that someone could possibly take to do this thing? And what's the most amount of work that we can take off of people's plates in the same way? And so like, that's the mindset behind how we're building everything on this partners dashboard. So another example of that is the bidirectional sync is set up in a way where you can create a partner in Euler and it'll go and create one in Salesforce or HubSpot. You can create one in the CRM. It'll pull it into Euler. You should never have to do the same thing in two places, because again, that's a waste of time and effort. We give you high-level metrics on your partner portfolio, on individual partner relationships very easily. You also have the ability to actually send referrals out of Euler to your partners. Now, as more businesses are thinking about the give to get, we're trying to enable that giving, but also the tracking of that giving. So more realistically and on a more consistent basis, you know exactly what the value given versus the value received is on a partner relationship. Because otherwise you have no idea unless you're emailing back and forth or you're hopping on your monthly or quarterly check-in and everyone's pulling up their Google Sheets being like, what happened to this one? What happened to that one? You can't work like this anymore. Like, business moves fast. You need real-time data in order to make effective decisions. And we're trying to empower that for our customers. Content management. You can upload files, links, videos. You can share them with all partners or specific partners very easily. And soon you'll be able to see who's accessing what on a user level. The payments piece, this is one of my favorites because we integrate with the billing system. And so from an integrations perspective, we have all of these already. And in that short time that we've existed, very big fan of integrations as a partnerships person, think it's pretty critical to a successful system for partnerships. So what we can do is, because we have that data, we can come in here and basically say, hey, for whatever period of time you're looking at, here's all the customer charges you received for customers associated with a partner. Validate the cost structure or the reward structure on this, generate an invoice. The system loops through all the transactions that you have for that time period. And then you get this invoice here that is itemized, and then you can approve it. And you can either pay via Euler through Tremendous, Stripe, whatever, or you can just download a CSV, hand it to your finance team. They can go pay it however you mark it as paid, and it shows it to the partner with that same information. Oh, and it automatically generated an invoice that's itemized from the partner to your team, so nobody ever has to invoice anybody ever again. And it's super easy to now pay partners, which is a critical yet extremely annoying and difficult thing for almost every business.
Yeah, most teams manage out of a spreadsheet. And if it's not updated by your finance team, you have a partner come to you and say like, hey, why hasn't this been paid yet? And you're like, I don't know. Let me go check the spreadsheet. Let me check in with this person. Like, we had a weekly meeting for a long time just to go through this. So that is a huge advantage.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem with spreadsheets is that there's many spreadsheets. And there's no one single go-to place where you can just see all of that. When Dimitri leaves the company and he was managing this in finance, right? Well, there's somebody else that has to come in and has to just, I don't know, look at every spreadsheet. I mean, it's not going to happen, right? It's not going to happen. So having a place where you're going to log in and you're going to see everything and you can pull this out and ensure that all of that is paid, that's a lot of time saving, Well,
and the data is pulling from your own billing system, so it literally cannot be wrong. The only thing that could be wrong is the commission structure, which you can validate. But ultimately, this is one of those things that through integrations and through good data architecture, you can just automate out. Nobody should be spending time on this. But there's so many of these little things within partnerships that right now, and again, I talk to at least a dozen partner teams a week, probably more. I've talked to hundreds over the last year. The most common piece of partner tech is Google Sheets. That's not scalable. It's not predictable. It's not practical, honestly, at a certain size. And so that's why people are excited about the product. And then things like incentives, very flexible. You can build it off of a partner tier, a customer tier, revenue range, fixed payouts on demos and deals, rev share. You can specify terms of payouts, and our system automatically tracks that term from the close date of the opportunity. So nobody on finance has to see, have we been paying this for 12 months? Should we stop paying the partner? All these little details. And then you can create as many of these as you want, as flexibly as you want, and just associate a partner to the reward model, and you're done. And you never have to worry about it ever again unless you change your reward model.
I think people would say like, oh, this is table stakes. It's not. I evaluated a few PRMs and I'd be like, okay, so can we have like a few different models that pay on different things like media versus SaaS? And they're like, no, we can't do that. So this flexibility in terms of rewards and incentives is really great and beyond what a lot of the platforms have available.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, ultimately, again, because of my experience and because of all the conversations we've had over the last year, I know that, partner programs are like snowflakes. No two are exactly alike. And having the flexibility to not do what partner tech has been doing for a long time, which is probably one of the reasons it's failed, and saying, hey, fit your program, fit your structure, your process, your workflow into our capabilities. We've taken the opposite approach. We've said, we will fit our product capabilities into your workflow and process and program structure. And that flexibility has been very, very well received because folks are like, okay, cool. They don't have to think about it. They don't have to think about, oh, how am I going to restructure this? How am I going to restructure that? Literally the only friction point we run into, and this is just inevitable, is that a lot of people set up their CRMs in a very wonky way. And it's just not practical. The way they set up their CRMs, it's not scalable. So sometimes we do have to have them restructure their CRMs. But a funny anecdote there, which I know you'll appreciate, Dimitris, which is everything that you need to successfully set up partnerships in, let's call it Salesforce and HubSpot, it's all native within the products. You don't need custom objects. You don't need consultants or agencies or any of these shenanigans to set it up. And yet, more times than not, we've seen it significantly overcomplicated, maybe because these CRM consultants and agencies want to make the solution seem more complicated so that their value seems more significant. But ultimately, it's really, really easy to set it up correctly. And we've had to have a lot of folks like unwind bad CRM data practices in order to just make it work more easily. And ultimately, the things that we recommend, again, are native to the CRMs. And if they were to rip out Euler tomorrow, they would be in a better place from like a reporting and architecture standpoint regardless.
We were talking about this the other day, how consultants oversell and make it more complicated than it needs to be. One thing I'm really excited about as you're talking through the product is the give to get model. And so being able to refer out to your partners, which is a really important aspect and something that's sometimes a hard sell for a partner salesperson to do internally. Part of the reason that's a hard sell is it's hard to automate and the partnerships person can't do it all. And so I think there's a cool future there. Maybe you're already doing some of this where leads that were disqualified for a certain reason in Salesforce, if they hit XYZ qualification, automatically get kicked and maybe round robin through the 5 partners that you've selected that get these referrals. And that would help that give to get problem and make it less of like me going in and saying like, hey, who are the customers we can or prospects we can refer out? And it becomes a little more automatic. So I think it can work. The automation can work both ways, which is exciting.
Yeah. So on what you just said about the, wonky Salesforce and CRM setup and why that's the case, I think there are 2 reasons based on my experience why that's the case. Number one, I think there's still a lot of CROs and founders of the companies. They don't think about partnerships as an opportunity, and they think about this as a kind of some addition to what the sales should be. And that trickles down into what Lizzie said about the consultants, and we really had this conversation about that. It's just not considered to be a necessary knowledge how to set it up properly, right? It's just a side project that comes on top of everything else. And if that's the case, you will have these unwanted, workarounds and like half-baked solutions, workflows, all of that. So what you actually solving is that somebody can effectively start showing that it's working, and you don't need to have these consultants necessarily put in place. I'm just connecting what you already have because, like you said, it's just natively available in these CRMs, and I can actually do this effectively very quickly. So I think it's just exactly playing to these 2 problems that are existing, right? And I don't think they're going to get solved. To your point, people don't change easily, and these practices, if somebody was doing this for 15 years, then unlikely you're going to change this, right? Let's be honest. If they had consultants, right, they're going to go after the big buck and they're going to say, hey, this is how we're going to do this. I've done this for 15 years, so don't interrupt me. So I think, you coming from a different angle, and I'm glad to see that you actually put more emphasis on the process and the workflow that is just automating all these little things that are helping them to see this as a one piece. But I have 2 questions for you. So 2 cases that actually maybe are somewhere you can solve already with your solution. Number one, are you getting a lot of questions from your prospects about how I can solve the campaigning, like co-campaign collaboration with my partner? A lot of partners, they're looking for, hey, can we share some costs on the campaign here? We can do, tap into your network or install base, and you can tap into mine, install base. But, we have to just put the campaign in place and all of that, right? They don't have a dedicated marketing resources these days necessarily. Is there anything that they're asking you about in that regard? And eventually, what is your answer?
Yeah. So we don't plan to necessarily go deep into the partner marketing piece. But for example, and I don't know if you guys have talked to him about it yet, but if not, you should have him on, Blake Williams, with what he's building with Growth Story AI. He's got a really cool solution for that. And they're going to be one of our first partner tech integrations, where through the product he built, you can basically plug in the two companies. It goes in I think automatically finds the two companies' collateral and brand voice and logos and resources and stuff just from its access to like Clearbit and things like that. And it'll create those co-campaigns like together very quickly, automatically through AI to a high degree of accuracy from what I can tell. I think that there's a lot of opportunity in partner marketing, but I think it's a totally separate motion. And we're trying to stay very, very focused on solving like the really, I guess, let's call it initially core problems around partnerships. And so more likely what we would do is with our integration with something like a growth story as part of your like partner onboarding flow, because we're going to add partner lifecycle management. We're going to add deeper data and analytics to the product. Lots of really cool stuff. I mean, everything you just saw, we've built in a year. So you can imagine what we're going to build in the next year. But, you know, the way I would see it working is like, hey, as part of your partner onboarding process, you know, once they've signed the agreement, once they've logged into the portal, whatever, they could click a button, hey, let's leverage growth story. And it would automatically like, we have all the data already from both partners. We would just have growth story, plug it in, and then you could surface the growth story results in our system.
Attribution is where you can plug in there, right? Because they're going to be tracking that marketing campaign through their CRM. And then you start to create the full picture of like, this partner drove this much in the co-campaigns, the partner marketing campaigns. And then also through referrals, they drove this much. And like, that's where you can start to have a greater story there.
Exactly. Yeah. I think they create like landing pages and stuff like that, like co-branded, you know, better together story landing pages and whatnot. And like you could automatically put a Euler UTM link on there and track what's coming from that. And I think there's lots of cool things around that. But I think one of the biggest problems that we're trying to address is, on the one hand, making partnerships teams just, again, more successful with less effort. On the other side, we want to help partner teams more effectively demonstrate that impact that they're having on the business, because that's a huge gap for partnerships that no one's really addressing, which is that the reason that partnerships people got laid off at an accelerated clip over the last 2 years is that partner teams historically don't do a great job of demonstrating impact. We all know they have a ton of impact: shorter sales cycles, higher win rates, higher contract value, better retention, lots and lots of things, but actually consistently demonstrating and validating that impact to ultimately the people they report to, the heads of sales, the CROs, the CEOs, the boards. Yeah. If that's not happening, you could do all the hand waving, look at me, partnership stuff you want. Yeah. You know, someone ultimately can kind of say thumbs up or thumbs down on you. And if you make it indisputable the value that you're driving through partnerships, it's a very different conversation. And ultimately, like, the average partner leader has like 15 to 20 jobs they're doing on a weekly basis. The last thing they have time for is to track, measure, and analyze and report on all of that to their superiors.
Lizzie's laughing, you know, she's going through this list every single week.
I was thinking, it's interesting that you bring that up, because I was thinking about like, curious about the critical metric or metrics that you really focus on with customers, of saying like, hey, you'll implement Euler and you'll see XYZ, the outcome. And there's tons of benefits. There's like, you can open this on your partner call and say like, look at what we're doing. How can we improve this? Whatever it may be. You can have better relationships with your partners, hopefully drive more referral revenue through a more seamless program. And I wonder if that's it. But ultimately, for me, what it is that now I have proof that partnerships matter. So I'm curious if you're seeing like that be the main factor that's coming out of this, or are there other metrics that customers are really excited about?
You know, it really varies by partner program. That one definitely comes up a lot, especially because, again, that's not something that you can really do very well right now. But we have folks that are really excited about just all the time savings. I mean, we have folks where we're saving like 20 or 30% of their time that they're spending on these administrative operational tasks. We have folks where like their partners are now way more engaged because of this more positive partner experience, and they're sending them more business, and they're excited that they now actually don't have to wonder what happened to that referral, what happened to that deal, when am I getting paid, like, why did you just send me money, where can I find this piece of content or my affiliate link? And then there's the folks from that perspective that are like, oh, I don't have to be constantly like trying to create these reports in the CRM, or I don't have to be bugging my sales ops team to try to create something for me. Like, it's just always here, and I know that it's accurate because this is our own data. being displayed for us. So I think, different partner teams have different priorities and problems. But I also believe that one of the reasons that we've been able to be so successful so fast is because we're addressing all of them.
Yeah. You also see questions around who I should partner with. Can I have a visibility who I want to partner with? Not in the way that somebody raised the hand, right? They say, hey, it would be nice to partner with someone like, yeah, that's BS. But, someone who is really prepared for that. Somebody who has a plan. If I know that I have on the other side someone that has an idea why they do this and who they're looking for, almost like an ICP definition, that's gold. I know what I'm fitting.
An IPP?
Yeah, call it.
Yeah. So
probably I wouldn't call it that way, but it's ICP for partners.
Yeah. Well, no, it is. It's ideal partner profile. And yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, that definitely does come up. And we don't have I don't think anybody has a really good solution for it yet. There's another founder down here in San Diego called Dina Moskowitz, who has a company called Partner Optimizer. And they're a little bit more enterprise, and they do some of this ideal partner profile stuff that's super cool. But ultimately, I would say the impact that we have on that at the moment is kind of like the impact we have on anything else within partnerships right now, which is that being strategic and optimizing a partner program is something that, and reporting on the impact, honestly, are things that constantly get put on the back burner by partner leaders because they're just blocking and tackling constantly, trying to just handle the 20 things in front of their face. And so in the short term, the benefit that we provide is we clear a lot of that brush for them, that operational administrative brush, so they can spend a little bit more time. If you're a partner manager, you spend more time on building relationships. If you're the leader of the team, you can spend more time being a little bit more strategic. And because we have good analytics and data and reporting, and that's only getting better, we can keep giving you more and more information from which to make those decisions around ideal partner profile. Eventually, we will very much solve for that in a really cool data-driven way without giving away too much. But in the meantime, it's more about freeing up time and at least giving you the data that we can to make the most kind of data-driven decisions that you can around that. But ultimately, I don't think that there's any really, really good solutions for that just yet. And I think it's impossible to even have a good answer to that question with or without Euler, unless you're tracking and measuring a lot of different data points around your, not only partners' demographics themselves, but also their life cycle with you and their experience with you.
Yeah, you're setting down the basis of the foundation that you're going to need to do that, which often partnerships teams don't even know. But what you're ultimately doing is increasing partnerships power, right? So you're taking off the day-to-day things so that you can focus on the relationships, finding new partners, getting them signed off without doing all the administrative tasks. And then also probably enhancing the relationships between the partnerships teams and the sellers, because they're now sending over referrals that are happy and it wasn't this convoluted process, and the operations side of the business, who no longer has to go through those Google Sheets or update the Salesforce or whatever it may be. Are those the three teams that you're seeing this tool help collaborate the most, or are there any that I'm missing in that?
Yeah, I mean, so far, partnerships, sales, finance, I would say by and large are all really excited about this change. You're not bugging salespeople to tag things. You're not bugging finance to calculate things. There's more transparency. But I will also say that the executive team, the C-suite, have been really excited about it because, again, it provides transparency. I always talk about how it's just as important to build internal partnerships as external partnerships. And as a partnerships leader, you should be spending half your time on that. And this helps with that because, again, it's one thing to be over here kind of waving your hands saying, look at me, we're amazing. It's another thing to basically say, here's the data, see for yourself. Oh, and by the way, those things that you were doing for me and those things that you were doing for me, you don't have to do them anymore. I think it's just, again, about fostering a collaborative, transparent environment, both internally and externally.
I think sometimes why people don't lean into partnerships, leadership in other teams is because it's a pain in the ass. Everything's manual. And so to get something off the ground, it's a longer period before you really see the returns on it. sometimes. It's an investment and everything is hard. And so if you're making it less hard and also showing the impact of it, then it makes it a lot easier to invest in. But I hadn't thought about that, how much of a pain in the ass it is to do everything before.
It's tough. It's very much a catch-22 because to really successfully scale a partner program, you need bandwidth and resources. But to get approval for that bandwidth and resources, you need to have a scaling partner program. So it's a very chicken and egg thing for partner teams. And so, again, as I mentioned to you, like we have huge customers with huge partner programs that bring this on, and it obviously creates an insane amount of leverage for them. But we also have like very forward-looking smaller customers that are like, hey, we're going to invest in partnerships. We plan for this to be a significant portion of our go-to-market strategy, and we want to build from the beginning correctly. And when they use a tool like Euler, like all of those pains that you just mentioned of like standing this up go away. And so now it's actually easier to stand up a partner program, and it's easier to hit those success metrics faster because you're not being bogged down by this, early on 25 to 50% of your time just trying to figure out like how to manage everything.
Yeah. Who else is doing this? Who do you consider your competitors?
Look, I mean, we have taken people off of other PRM platforms. Probably almost every single one that you've heard of, we've either taken someone off of it or we've won a competitive pitch against them already, which is obviously very exciting. Ultimately, again, I while they are competitors, I think it's only because nobody has really known any different. I don't personally think of us as building a PRM or a portal, even though it very much replaces one and very much resembles one in a lot of ways. But again, I've pronounced time of death on those categories and that they have failed by and large. And if you talk to anybody in the know, none of those companies are doing well. They're either struggling to stay afloat and dropping their pants on price constantly, or trying to lock their customers into super long-term contracts, or they've got a bunch of venture capital, here's the other problem with venture capital. So they're trying to hit these crazy revenue targets. So they're raising prices publicly while cutting prices privately. Yeah, I would say the closest competitors right now are other PRMs and portals.
The legacy ones, not any like new up-and-comers who are taking a similar angle that you're aware of. Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of. I do see that there's a lot of PRM startups, like little ones here and there, a lot of them in Europe and stuff. And I don't know where those companies are going to go. And I think that the market is big enough that like we don't have to be the only name in the game. Like I think any companies that are out there advancing the cause of partnerships, I'm all for it. Honestly, I don't think it has to be a one winner outcome here. But in terms of like the legacy partner tech, I don't think that most of those companies are long for this world. And we started to see some consolidation in that space a little bit. I think Relevise just acquired Partner Portal, and Allbound just acquired Channeltivity. So I think there's a natural consolidation happening. But if you ask me for my hot take, I don't think it's going to help that cause.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to integrate it into the system that already exists. And on the partnership side, so you talked a lot about integrations that you have available, mostly on the finance and CRM side. You mentioned growth story. I'm curious if you have any existing partnerships or how you're kind of thinking about the future of partnerships for Euler.
Yeah. So from an integration perspective, we will naturally, at some point this year, integrate into things like Crossbeam and Reveal. We've had a bunch of customers ask us for that, but when I ask them why, like, what are you going to use it for? It's just crickets, because I don't think anyone's really figured out what to do with those things yet. And I think that's why I've heard a lot of complaints about those products. I think they're valuable products personally, but I think that to your point about point solutions, partnerships isn't quite at the stage of its evolution for point solutions. So it's tough, but we certainly aren't trying to rebuild a Crossbeam or a Reveal, because I think they're both done a great job of that. I could see us integrating with tools like Superglue and Partner Fleet. Had great conversations with Kenny over there. And, I would say Kenny is one of or that team and Rob at Superglue are some of the few folks that are looking at data the same way that we are from a partnerships perspective. And in the fact that that's one of the biggest opportunities and gaps in partnerships is data. And then from a general partnerships perspective, I mean, we were already partnered with a lot of partnerships consultants and advisors. More than half of our customers have actually come from referrals already, either from existing customers or from these partners, which is, I think, very encouraging. And yeah, we plan, I mean, obviously, to kind of practice what we preach and continue to build out this partner ecosystem. We're going to have solution partners at some point in the not so distant future as well, because the product's obviously pretty straightforward right now, although we're already getting questions from our customers of like, how do I use this? How to use that? Because we're launching new stuff constantly. But as the product becomes more robust and more powerful, there starts to be a delta between, what it's capable of and what people are using it for. And I think the only way to bridge that gap is through having experienced partner leaders that are also well-versed in Euler kind of come in and help these companies really maximize the opportunity that is presented within Euler.
Yeah, and it's an interesting angle if they're building their partner program or revisiting how their partner program looks to bring in a solutions consultant that helps them figure that out, and then as Euler match that from an operations perspective.
Yeah.
It's great that 50% of your prospects and customers are coming in through referrals. Is the rest mostly founder-led sales by you? You aren't doing any marketing yet, but you probably will be soon. What does that mix look like?
Yeah, predominantly, founder-led sales. I've obviously been getting more active in LinkedIn over the last few months, and it's just a lot of good buzz going around. Honestly, I talk to more and more people that are like, oh, I heard good things about Euler. I've just been pounding the pavement very hard over the last year and having lots and lots of conversations with lots and lots of people and trying to listen as much as possible to the industry, which is why I think a lot of people are excited about it, because it's like the first real partner tech platform built like with partnerships leaders, So it's a lot of word of mouth. It's a lot of like just my personal brand on LinkedIn and me literally like building what I describe as best practices, conceptually building it into the actual product. Again, like I said, we've been really, really fortunate that there's just been a lot of like inbound demand to the point that like I haven't done outbound prospecting in a while, and I don't necessarily see that we're going to need to anytime soon because my calendar is constantly full and we're signing more and more customers every week.
Well, that's great to hear that. I mean, that's a good problem to have. And I think in your space, it's going to be hard for someone who is not one of the former partner insider, right, expert, to sell to others your product. So I think it's going to take a while before you train other people how to sell this without that background, right? That's probably also helping you to understand where the product should go. So talking about the product, what's the next thing on that front? Like, what do you see the next stage of the product development on the roadmap?
One of the biggest concepts that's most conspicuously absent from partnerships is ROI. And I talk about this around like unit economics and things like that, but most partner teams would have a hard time demonstrating the ROI on a partnership, on a partner manager, on a partner program overall. They definitely could not demonstrate the ROI on a piece of partner tech, which is why I've never heard a single piece of partner tech talk about ROI. And I think that that's just kind of foolish and maybe a little bit of just naivete. It's a hard word to say. I think it's a little naivete to think that like partnerships could keep operating over here without an ROI story, which again is why, unfortunately so many partner leaders got laid off over the last couple of years. And so we want to enable partner teams to be able to tell that ROI story on all of those things: relationships, partner managers, programs, our tool, to the extent that like we've been told many, many times that we should be charging more for the product and we could be charging more. And right now for the functionality that you would get, and that's not even talking about the things that we already have that are better than existing platforms, but even if you go apples to apples, like feature for feature, we still typically come out 2 to 4 times less expensive than the closest competitor, because every other partner tech company has not been built by a partner leader. So they just saw partner leaders as a dollar sign. They just saw it as money and revenue. And I see partner leaders as my people. And I'm like, I'm not out here trying to like make a ton of money off you right now and gouge you. I'm trying to help raise up the industry and make you more successful. And yeah, obviously we're building a business and revenue is important, but again, like pound for pound, like we're the best value on the market, period, already. And so I want to keep being able to demonstrate that for our product, but more importantly, help the partner teams demonstrate that. Because if we help partner teams validate their value and impact, then we're kind of building a market for ourselves as we do that, because we're just increasing the addressable market of partnerships. And I think partnerships is already going in that direction, but I believe that we have an opportunity to accelerate that through that. And then besides everything around like data and analytics and reporting, I think there's opportunities to continuously build in more features and functionality that meet everybody where they work. So salespeople, partners, salespeople, so on and so forth. It's a lot of the concept of like what Rob and the Superglue team have been doing with their product in a very different way. But it's like, let's meet everybody where they work. Let's remove friction points. Let's help partnerships truly be integrated into everything. And so it's going to be more and more functionality around that. And then just things around like partner life cycle and really transparently, we're trying to solve all of the problems in partnerships. So we're just going to keep adding more and more and more and more, or integrating with awesome companies like Growth Story and Superglue and Partner Fleet and Crossbeam. But either way, like continuously solving more and more and more of these problems for partner teams so that they can focus on what they're really, really good at, which is building relationships and driving revenue.
I'm dying for the partnership super tool that doesn't exist yet. And I think it's going to be done through integrations, right? So as you listed all those partners, I'm like, yes, like these are the tools we use, the things that are most valuable, and how do we help them communicate with each other and make it easier for the partner to interact with all of those tools, ideally in a single place eventually. So that's super exciting.
I agree with that. I'm assuming you need to bring more engineering to and manpower to your team in order to build that product. So what's the plan on that front?
We are hiring engineers. We are hiring all kinds of engineers. We're building out the product org to keep up with demand significantly. On the go-to-market side, I'm going to be getting myself some support as well. But yeah, we are very much needing more manpower at this point.
That's refreshing.
Are you looking for them?
A lot of companies are not hiring, and there's no way I'm going to hire. Good news.
Yeah.
Are you hiring them in the US, or what is the plan there?
We're kind of open to everything. Obviously it's a lot more expensive in the US, and I think the trend towards hiring folks abroad seems to be increasing dramatically. And if you follow any of the trends around like AI and like, all this, everyone's talking about just like you could build a huge, super successful business with like less than 10 people between AI and, offshoring and things like that. Like the unit economics have changed dramatically in building a business. So we're kind of exploring all options, but ultimately the thing that's really, really important to us is our customer experience. Because again, I haven't used any of these other tools. I used Allbound in the past in one of my roles. I used PartnerStack. I've seen the inside of most of them, but I haven't used any personally recently. So all of my opinions on the rest of partner tech has come 95 to 100% from conversations with other partner leaders. And one of the biggest complaints, besides the product sucks and it's too expensive, is that their customer support, their customer success is just really bad. And I want the opposite. And I'm sure every founder says this, but like, I don't ever want to churn a customer. If we can, obviously, if they like go out of business or someone gets fired or something like that, that's out of our control, that's separate. But we actually have had customers where our stakeholders left and the business kept using it because they saw the value in the product, So we want to just create an amazing customer experience. We want a ton of our business to always come from referrals from our existing customers because they're so happy, or they're partners that are using the portal on that partnership and they're like, oh, I want this for my program, And I think that in this new age of efficient growth, not only maximizing your customer lifetime value, but leveraging your customers as a growth channel for your own business is no longer a nice to have, it's a need to have. And so for hiring, like ultimately, even if it's a little more expensive, if we can't find talent that I'm very sure is going to be able to create a positive customer experience outside of the US, then we'll hire inside the US.
Yeah, that makes sense. Shocking. Partnerships is efficient growth. As you took the words out of my mouth. So you've named a ton of companies that you think are doing cool things, like the Rose story, like Superglue. Any others you want to call out and give kudos to that are doing cool things, either in partner tech or tools that you use and love in the go-to-market space?
Sure. Jessie over at Fluency is doing some super cool stuff with her ability to enable teams more easily around partners. And let's see, I mentioned Growth Story, Superglue. I know I'm going to forget someone and they're going to be super pissed at me. So I apologize to anyone that I should have mentioned. Obviously, Kenny and the Partner Fleet team. And I use as a call recorder just because I think it's a phenomenal tool. Fathom is like an AI call recorder and you can use it for free, but they have like a paid version with like better AI notes and everything. But I've been using it for a while and just the way that they operate as a company and just the quality of the product itself, absolutely phenomenal. I think HubSpot's a phenomenal CRM. And I believe that just, again, because we now have spent so much time inside of other people's CRMs, I believe that HubSpot is suitable for most businesses at this point, unless you have some real intense level of complexity that you have to use Salesforce for. HubSpot's just so powerful and so extensible from that perspective. Yeah, I would say that's mostly our stack.
You gave us 3 to go and chat with, and we've already talked to 2. So that's good. Good on the scorecard.
That's awesome. Yeah. No,
Yep.
there's, and I know there's more stuff that I'm forgetting, but it's an exciting time in partnerships. I think there's some smart people building some cool stuff. I'm hoping the energy and the buzz that we're feeling in the space only continues to grow.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think it will. And we're in a good spot with where partnerships is going to go, especially with the macroeconomic trends. So, well, I think that's a good place to wrap up. So, Greg, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us. And I'm super excited for you guys to go public with this, hopefully relatively soon.
Yeah. Probably by the time people are listening to this, there's a good chance we'll be out in the wild.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the RepTech Podcast. Please subscribe on the listening platform of your choice and leave us a review to let us know how we're doing.